E-Chemistry class, Fatima Convent High School. Myself, Dipali. Chapter 3, Metals and Nonmetals. Today we are going to start with the first session of this chapter. In this chapter, we are going to study about physical and chemical properties of metals and nonmetals. There are 118 elements according to the periodic table which are available in nature. Out of them, 92 elements are naturally occurring. These elements are beautifully classified into three broad categories in the periodic table: metals, semi-metals, and non-metals. The examples of metals are copper, aluminium, silver, etc. And examples of semi-metals are silicon, germanium, etc. Non-metals are oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, carbon, etc. Now, let us understand the physical properties of metals and non-metals in this session. In class 9, you have learned about various elements. You have been seen that elements can be classified as metals or non-metals on the basis of their property. Think of some uses of metals and non-metals in your daily life. What properties did you think of while categorizing elements as metals and nonmetals? How are these properties related to the use of these elements? Let us look at some of these properties in detail. Physical properties. Metals. The easiest way to start grouping substances is by comparing their physical properties. Let us study this with the help of following activities. Activity 3.1 to 3.6 will show us all the physical properties of metals. For that, you will need to collect few samples of iron, copper, aluminium, magnesium, sodium, lead, zinc and any other metals that is easily available. Now let us see the first activity which shows us the luster property. Take samples of iron, copper, aluminium and magnesium. Note the appearance of each sample. Clean the surface of each sample by rubbing them with sandpaper and note their appearance again. Metal in their pure state have a shining surface. This property is called metallic luster. So that is the first property. Second, let us see hardness. How hard are metals? Take small pieces of iron, copper, aluminium and magnesium. Try to cut this metal with a sharp knife and note your observation. Hold a piece of sodium metal with a pair of tongs. Always handle sodium metal with care. Try it by pressing between the folds of filter paper because they are very corrosive and exothermic. It can burn your hands. Put it on a watch glass and try to cut it with a knife. What do you observe? You will find that the metals are generally hard and the hardness vary from metal to metal. Except for sodium and potassium, which can be counted as soft metals because they can be easily cut with the help of knife. Now let us see malleability. Take a piece of iron, zinc, lead and copper. Place any one metal on a block of iron and strike it 4 or 5 times with a hammer. What do you observe? Repeat with your other metals. Record the change in the shape of these metals. You will find that some metals can be beaten into thin sheets. This property is called malleability. Did you know that gold and silver are the most malleable metals? So, this is the third property. Now ductility. List the metals whose wires you have seen in life. You must have seen that the ability of metals to be drawn into thin wires is called ductility. So, copper, aluminium, etc. metals can be easily drawn into wires. Gold is the most ductile metal. You would be surprised to know that a wire of 2 kilometers length, which is quite long, can be drawn from 1 gram of gold. So a very little quantity of gold can draw 2 kilometers long wire. It is because of their malleability and ductility that metal can be given different shapes according to your needs. So can you name some more metals that can be used for making cooking vessels? Yes, copper, brass, bronze, steel. Steel and bronze are alloys, but copper and brass are pure metals which can be used for making utensils. Even aluminium is used for making utensils. Ask your parents and mother in your kitchen if you find any other utensils of any other metal. Now let us see the conductivity. The conductivity of heat we will check or thermal conductivity. For this activity take aluminium or copper wire, clamp this wire on a stand as shown in the figure. Fix a pin to the first free end of the wire using wax. Heat the wire with a spirit lamp, candle or a burner near the place where it is clamped. What will you observe? That the pin which is at the end of the wire will fall down in little while because of the melting of wax. Why did the wax melt? The wax melted because the heat which was applied at this point was passed on till this end where it became hot and the wax melted and the pin dropped. This shows that the heat was conducted and so it proves that the metals are good conductors of heat and they have high melting point. The best conductor of heat are silver and copper. Lead and mercury are comparatively poor conductors of heat. There are always exceptions. Let us check the property of conductivity now. By electricity, set up an electrical circuit. Place the metals to be tested in the circuit between the terminals A and B as shown. Does the bulb glow? What does this indicate? That when you place it in the electrical circuit, the metal allows the electricity to conduct and so it shows electrical conductivity. You must have seen the wires that carry current in your homes have a coating of polyvinyl chloride, that is PVC or rubber material. Why are electrical wires coated with these substances? Because the wires are good conductors of electricity and you might get a shock from the naked wire if they are not covered. PVC and rubber are insulators and they will not allow the current to touch your body and so they are coated. So this also proves that metal are good conductor of electricity. Let us see the property of sound. That is what happens when metal strikes a hard surface. Do they produce a sound? The metal that produces a sound on striking a hard surface are said to be sonorous. Can you now say why school bells are made of metal? Yes, the ringing sound is produced by striking of a metal with metal. Now let us see the non-metals. In the previous class you have learned that there are very few non-metals as compared to metals. Some of the examples of non-metals are carbon, sulfur, iodine, oxygen, hydrogen, etc. The non-metals are either solid or gas except bromine which is liquid. So non-metals can exist in all the three states, solid, liquid and gas. Do non-metals have same physical properties as metals? No. Let us perform an experiment here. If you take the examples of few non-metals like carbon, sulfur, iodine, you will see that few of them are shiny, few of them are not. Carbon and sulfur are not shiny. Carbon is hard, sulfur is soft. They are not malleable and not ductile. They do not conduct heat and electricity except for graphite and they are not sonorous as well. So on the basis of the above observation, discuss the physical properties of metals and non-metals. You can conclude that we cannot not group elements according to their physical properties alone. There are many exceptions. So first let us see the properties and revise it. for metals and then non-metals. So if we take these characters as the property, that is luster, hardness, malleability, ductility, melting point, boiling point, thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity and sonority or sonorous. Then metals are lustrous, they are hard except for sodium and potassium, malleable, ductile, hard melting point, solid except for mercury, good conductors of heat and electricity and sonorous. Now let us write for non-metals as well. Non-metals are non-lustrous, may be soft or hard. They are non-malleable, non-ductile, melting and boiling point may be different, low or high. They are solid, liquid and gas. They are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Except for graphite. Is a good conductor of electricity. It's an exception. And they are non-sonorous. So these are the properties of metals and non-metals, which can be listed as shown in the chart. Now let us talk about the exceptions. All metals except mercury exist as solid at room temperature. You may observe that metals have high melting point, but gallium and cesium have very low melting point. These two metals will melt if you keep them on your palm. Iodine is a non-metal, yet it is lustrous. Carbon is a non-metal which can exist in different forms. Each form is called as allotropes, about which we will study in the chapters further. Diamond is an allotrope of carbon. It is the hardest natural substance known and have a very high melting and boiling point. Graphite, another allotrope of carbon, is a conductor of electricity. Alkali metals, lithium, sodium, potassium, are so soft that they can be cut with a knife. They are low density and low melting point. So you can say these are the exceptions. Elements can be more clearly classified as metals and non-metals on the basis of their chemical properties. So in next session, we are going to understand about their chemical properties, where we will take a magnesium ribbon and some sulfur powder. Burn the magnesium ribbon, collect the ash and dissolve it in water. You will observe that when you take this magnesium ribbon, it burns with a dazzling flame and magnesium oxide is formed which is basic in nature. Test the resultant with litmus paper and you observe that magnesium oxide which is formed is basic in nature. Now burnt sulfur powder, place a test tube over the burning sulfur to collect the fumes. Add some water to the test tube and shake. Test this solution with red and blue litmus. Is the product formed burning sulfur acidic or basic? So we'll see that sulfur oxide is obtained and it is acidic in nature. If you write the equation for this, you will get as 2 Mg solid plus O2 gas gives 2 MgO, which is again a solid. Then you have MgO solid plus H2O liquid gives MgOH twice aqueous. And you have S sulfur plus oxygen on burning gives sulfur oxide, which is gas, and this sulfur oxide gas when dissolved in water, which is a liquid, gives H2SO3, and which is acidic in nature. So burning of magnesium ribbon and sulfur forms magnesium oxide and sulfur oxide respectively. Magnesium oxide turns red litmus blue as it is basic in nature, and sulfur dioxide turns blue litmus red as it is acidic in nature. So most of the non-metals produce acidic oxide when dissolved in water. On the other hand, most of the metals give rise to basic oxides. When we will learn more about these metal oxides in the next section. So, next session we are going to understand about chemical properties. Thank you for now.